There we go. Thank you. So what I've done is asked those of us that have read the book to pull out excerpts that moved them, excerpts that resonated with them, and that could be put in the context of a meeting such as this. It's going to, and so we're going to go through sort of in an order, and all of us that are participating have a list in front of us, and none of us have, other than me, have really seen this list except for about a half hour ago. So it's possible that it may be a little bit choppy as we move through, but the format is going to be, once we start, is that each of us is going to read our particular excerpt, and there are several, and there's going to be some silence in between, and then when each person, the next person that's going to read feels moved, they'll begin. The invitation, they'll begin their excerpt, and the invitation for all of us is to rest in the silence, to let the deepest part of our soul feel more than think about what's said. See where that lands, whatever gets read, see where it lands in your being. See if it also resonates, gives you an expansion or something. And we're going to have very little commentary. We're just going to read one after the other with a pause in between. And the goal is to have each phrase that gets read build on the other. It's in a chronological order through the book. And I think that's enough of a setup. So I'm going to begin by playing a little video by let's see which one, this one. A woman that we discovered a few years ago. Some of us went out to see her in Peonia, but she, to me, embodies more than almost any musician I've ever come across. The essence of spirit embodied in a being. So here we go. Hopefully this will work.
I want to be away from the thinking. It won't stop till I let it all in. Want to be away from the thinking. Won't stop till I let it all in.
Thinking is the word.
Be away from the thinking. Won't stop till I let it all in. To be away from the thinking. Won't stop till I let it all in. To be away from the thinking. Won't stop till I let it all in. To be away from the thinking. Won't stop till I let it in. To be away till I let it all in. This moon, she told me, as I woke from walking asleep. Below at midnight, she said, your feet are heavy, your feet stand deep, deeper than you know, farther than you go. This wild mother, she told me one morning, child, you've got to run on my back, farther than you've ever gone before, deeper than you've ever known before. Run right to the edges, right through your edges, right to the edge of your edge. Jump off that cliff, dive in below. Jump off that cliff and you let it in. To be away and you let it in. Oh, let it all in to be away from God. Let it all in to be away from God. Let it all in to be away from God. Let it all in to be away from God. Let it all in. Hey, hey, my brothers and sisters, this is we connected at the roots that grew us, the roots that grew us, the roots that grew these trees that lit these lights, that lit these lights, that lit these lights. So if you want stars to hear you, if you want stars to hear your soul, you've got to go as the stars go. Let all your light show. Waters uncover, unshadow the unknown pieces, forgotten names, places we came from, life we were born when speech was the meaning, the thing we spoke to feed this story whose pages we woven and woven into. However it shows itself, however you find yourself, every moment, every piece of you, I'll take it all. I want it, all of it, all of it, sounded loud, beam it out. There's no more time to hold back, my brothers and sisters, no more time to hold back, no sense in holding it back. Now we're all beaming light, all beaming light. Can you let it in? Oh, can you let it in? Oh, can you let it in? Oh, all of it, all of it, everything, all of it. How do we stay with it? How do we breathe with it? Breathe in deeper, see where it goes, see where it takes us, see where it shows. All of us showing, all of us sharing, all of us breathing, all of us being. We are creating everything that comes, everything that is all around us. Visioning clear, we are visioning clear. All of us here, all of us here. So let it in, let it in. All of us here, all of us here. Let it in. Listen in, can you let it in? Oh, can you let it in?
Oh, so let's just rest in that oneness that is all that is. Each of us being a perfect part. And then letting go of even the concept of being a part. The creator, the created, all part of this and beyond all of this. And now I'd just like to move into the next phase, our reading. And we'll start off with Janae. When you're ready, where'd you go? There you are up there. Unmute yourself and then.
I do not know the limits of this being, and I hesitate to even call it a being at all. As I have experienced it, it is the fabric of existence itself. I think of it as the generative intelligence of our universe, the mind of the cosmos, both transcendent source and manifest body of existence, beyond all categories of he or she, yet infinitely more than any it, capital I, it. The essence of the teaching was this: we are self-generating fields of energy in a living universe. We generate energy by making choices. The universe responds to this energy. Thus, in complex and subtle ways, we are always creating our own experience. I saw this feedback working on several levels simultaneously. Some cycles took minutes, some years, some lifetimes. We control the flow of energy out from and back into our lives. What comes to us from without originates from within. The more one moves towards one's center and engages the deeper levels of one's conditioning, the more one becomes conscious of being the source of one's experience. If my energy is clear, my experience will be clear. Only by reaching one's core can one become completely unconditioned and free. Here, the divine is profoundly committed to creation. The stunning disclosure is that creation was a choice that I had in some way participated in, that all of us have participated in. Thus, human suffering is not something being done to us. It is neither punishment nor accident. It is something that we voluntarily took on when we chose to participate in the co-creation of this universe, a process that is unfinished and incomplete. We chose this. What I had previously conceptualized in atomistic terms, I practice that so often, atomistic terms, as individual people choosing to reincarnate in order to clear their personal karmic patterns, I was now experiencing as a centralized decision to incarnate entire generations to cleanse the human minefield of its collective karmic legacy. I saw no sustainable distinctions between individuals, only the web of life operating in an integrated, unified manner.
Just let that settle in. The purpose, the physical universe is not a punishment or trap into which we have fallen and from which we must be saved. It is not a spiritual wasteland we should escape from as quickly as possible. The purpose of rebirth is not to spiritually awaken and then leave the universe. The purpose is to awaken and become a conscious player in the continuing growth, in its continuing growth and transformation.
Reduced to its essence, the teaching was this: matter is the canvas that mind paints upon. It has no capacity to act apart from the animating presence of consciousness and is responsive to the direction of consciousness. Therefore, whatever our experience is in space-time, We must have the courage to sit still and face the fact that we are experiencing nothing but the manifestation of our own consciousness. No matter how terrible the pain, no matter how horrendous the injustice or inscrutable the logic, our experience in space-time is the direct expression of our consciousness in a higher order of reality. If we do not face this terrible fact, we fail to understand the most basic fact of life. Matter is the canvas on which we practice and refine the art of creating. It is the notebook in which we draw sketches and explore possibilities. If our experience in this life is convoluted and torn by conflicting forces, it was transparently obvious that this was caused by the carryover of exercises from previous lifetimes in space-time. The experience of matter is extremely intense and leaves a powerful impression on the mind. If we go to see a frightening movie, later when we're home safe in our beds, we may have nightmares. Likewise, the impressions physical existence makes on our consciousness carry themselves over into other incarnations. It is as if we tried to sketch too many drawings on the same page, and the pictures interfere with one another. What we are is the result of everything we have ever thought. And yet, there is a method to this madness, a direction to our experimentation. We move into space-time to experiment with our creative abilities, but the intensity of space-time experience is such that we tend to get caught in the echoes of our own experience. Home safe in our cosmic beds after death, we get caught by our dreams and return again and again to Earth, weaving new layers into the dream. Eventually, however, the time comes when we begin to collect the tangled threads of our physical experiences. Lifetime by lifetime, we rewind the threads of our dreaming and regather the energy of all our human exercises. As I rewound the threads of my existence, I began to experience more clearly what the entire exercise of reincarnation had been about. It had not been about what happened in any individual lifetime. It had been about learning to control the powers of creativity that were my innate nature. We were, in effect, learning how to be gods, learning how to create.
In the final analysis, I think that whether we remain inside the physical universe after waking up spiritually or leave it behind are not the mutually exclusive options, but simultaneous possibilities. If we were to achieve enlightenment and leave space-time for 100,000 years and then return, we would find the universe continuing to patiently grow her children through the steady and relentless accumulation of experience in rebirth. If we leave again this time for 1,000,000 years, upon our return, we would find the same thing. Nature growing humanity into ever richer forms. In such a universe, how could life not eventually produce fully awakened souls on Earth? Not just a few here and there, but everyone, everywhere. An entire species that through its hard labor had given birth to its new self-expression, its next self-expression. A fully conscious soul, green to its roots, feet firmly planted on the earth, This is the vision of history I now turn to explore.
This may be the most important chapter of this book, for it speaks of our children and our children's children as far as we can see. It speaks of a crossroads humanity is coming to, and of powerful forces taking us into a future that will change us at the deepest levels of our being.
The core vision of our future that has emerged in my sessions is that humanity is coming into a time of great awakening, a profound shift in the fundamental condition of the human psyche. But for there to be a great awakening, there must first take place a great death. We must be emptied of the old before the new can emerge. I have come to believe that the 21st century will be such a time. It will begin the dark night of our collective soul, a time of emptying of intense anguish, of loss of control and breakdown, a global purification unto death that will last generations. But through this hard labor, we will give birth to something extraordinary, more than just a new civilization. What is emerging is nothing less than a new order of human being. I believe that through the global systems crisis, our planet is giving birth to the future human.
This vision showed me that everything that lies ahead for humanity is taking place in the context of divine love. However difficult things may get in the coming years, we are not being punished, nor have we failed in some great undertaking. Rather, each of us has chosen to participate in this collective transformation in service of divine love.
What is emerging is a consciousness of unprecedented proportions. The entire human family integrated in a unified field of awareness. The species reconnected with its fundamental nature. Our thoughts tuned to source consciousness. This unified field did not suffocate our individuality, but liberated it into new orders of self-expression. Having moved beyond linear time into deep time, I experienced this collective awakening both as a projected destiny and a realized actuality. It was simultaneously something to be accomplished and something already accomplished. The scale of what I was witnessing took my breath away.
In touching the edges of the Creator's intent, I saw that evolution was indeed no accident, but a creative act of supreme brilliance, and that humanity is being taken across a threshold that will change it forever.
The entire process had the ruthlessness of Kali, the destroyer, mercilessly cutting away the old to make way for the new. On the other hand, I also felt an exquisite tenderness coming from the Creator, who experienced with us every pain we had taken upon ourselves. Humans were so precious to the Creator that not a single ounce of pain, not a single tear was wasted. The depth of the divine care so moved me that no sacrifice seemed too large or unreasonable.
The core vision of our future that has emerged in my sessions is that humanity is coming into a time of great awakening, a profound shift in the fundamental condition of the human psyche. But for there to be a great awakening, there must first take place a great death. We must be emptied of the old before the new can emerge. I've come to believe that the 21st century will be such a time. It will begin the dark night of our collective soul, a time of emptying, of intense anguish, of loss of control and breakdown. But through this hard labor, we will give birth to something extraordinary. More than just a new civilization, what is emerging is nothing less than a new order of human being. I believe that through the global systems crisis, our planet is giving birth to the future human.
Apparently that needed to come up twice.
Let me down here.
I experienced the entire world as a throbbing, dynamic, living whole that was throwing up generation after generation of living beings, and then reabsorbing them into itself, like waves crashing on a beach. The time expansion was enormous. In the few seconds that it takes a wave to crest and fall upon a shore, I witnessed an entire generation of human beings being born, live their entire lives, and pass away. Their lives reabsorbed into the totality, their energy forms reassimilated and folded into the next wave as it crashed onto the shore. Generation after generation of incarnating beings.
What I saw operating for the larger whole, I also saw operating in my own life. I too was a transient form. Everyone and everything around me was a transient form. Our collective lives focused a life process that stretched seamlessly through time and space, with not a single thread of separation anywhere. I experienced myself as being me, surrounded by the people and activities of my familiar world. And yet I had become completely hollow, emptied of all personal content, and in the end, transparent to a fluid, golden intelligence that permeated all reality and was flowing through me into whoever or whatever was in front of me. The image that stood out in my mind to frame this was the Sun-Neptune square in my natal chart. It was as if my individuality, Sun, had yielded completely to the divine, Neptune, and had become transparent to its vast energies. I became completely transparent to the divine, dissolved into its purposeful action. I repeatedly had the experience of being me, of living, but without my world and doing the things I usually do, especially teaching. But beneath this veneer, the substance of me had been emptied out, and now there flowed this golden fluid energy that surrounds and saturates everything. Is this where it's all heading? Is this what's happening as absorbing the light happens and deepens? A deeper intelligence takes over and pursues its goals through us? Or is takeover too strong a word? Oh, such delicious surrender, such spacious ease.
I have saved for the end the most powerful experience of the day. This was the last gift of my 20-year journey. It was late in this session, perhaps 5 hours in. I was lying down, eye shades off, absorbed in a free-flowing stream of awareness. Suddenly, my vision changed. Without warning, I realized that I was seeing in a completely new manner. I was seeing things with a sparkling clarity and brilliant detail that was unlike anything I had ever known before. The sun was streaming into the room, and I was seeing everything with a brilliantly clear, laser-like ultra intensity. Seeing with diamond clarity every detail, every nuance, every inflection. I looked at my hands and saw without the slightest effort the shadows inside every pore, the furrows of flesh beneath the pores, the glistening hairs, the 1,000 details that shaped the whole world. The brilliant orbs of dust floating in the air, giving three-dimensional depth to the space surrounding my hands. And clear, so incredibly clear that it took my breath away, and even now brings tears to my eyes. My hands were so clear, they seemed to be shining from within. It was then that I understood the significance of this transient blessing. I had been seeing through the eyes of the future human. This luminous sight will one day be humanity's natural way of seeing. All human beings will one day see as I have seen this afternoon. Perception is not simply a mechanical process. Our senses are now but partial approximations of what they are in the process of becoming. As our consciousness grows stronger over time, the entire baseline of human experience is slowly changing. We are still in the early stages of what humanity is becoming. What a splendid being nature is building. What a splendid being nature is building. What a splendid being nature is. What a marvelous being each of you are. Each of us are. Letting it all in, experiencing what we experience in a personal, individual level, and knowing that this experience is playing out on a grand scale, on a cosmic level. Knowing that as we move through each of our individual experiences, our impressions, our thoughts, our touches, this is the vastness of the universe having this experience. And as we continue to assimilate and take in each of these experiences and expand through them, the whole of the universe is evolving as well. And this is a service that each of us have chosen to perform in this time, space, existence. And as we have watched over the past few years, months and days, this is indeed playing out. To be able to pull back from the details of what is happening and know that it is a perfect, beautiful, exquisite heart, beautiful, exquisite, perfect experience of the divine. And bringing into our awareness that surrounding and infusing all of this is love. Love is beneath every action that is being taken. Love is beneath every experience that we have. It's an act of love for each of us to be open to this experience, to this moment, and to not push it away and not judge it only in terms of good and bad, right or wrong, but to accept it and feel where it lands, and wherever it lands in our own soul, to transmute it in the alchemical chamber of our own hearts, to see each individual in our own personal lives and on the collective world stage as a perfect individuation of divine love. Having voluntarily chosen to come into this incarnation, into our awareness at this time, to further the purpose of evolving us into a new order of human beings, fully aware of our relationship to the divine as the divine. I'm so grateful for all of you, for this beautiful meeting place that we call a spiritual center. So grateful to you, Golden, and to Joe, and to all of you that were here when Kelly and I landed here. There was one thing that really struck out, rang like a bell for me when I read this, and I can't remember the exact sentence, but it had to do with we are all working our way towards our core. And that was the strongest theme of my what I'll call an NDE, is that during the whole experience, all I wanted to find was to find my way to my core, to my center, to my spiritual center. And arriving here in Carbondale and searching for a place to land, I was amazed and not surprised to find a spiritual center. And I'm so grateful to share this spiritual center with all of you. So thank you for being here in this space and sharing your hearts and your spaciousness and your divine center with me and with us at our divine center. I'd like everybody to if you feel moved to unmute yourself and share anything that you may have experienced during this time, anything that comes up as you perhaps bring into your awareness what we as a country and as a planet have been going through more, probably, for several years, but intensely, but within the past couple weeks, where some say our democracy has been under attack and has survived, and we seem to be so amazingly divided all the way down to our Senate, which I feel is not an accident, the way it's transpired. So anyway, I will stop speaking and let anybody else that feels moved to share. And if you do want to share, just unmute yourself and speak into the circle.
John, I'd just like to say that this feels like the most tangible act of co-creation I've experienced in quite a while. With each of us choosing, I think this is what happened, with each of us choosing the passage we wish to read, you organizing it in page order fashion, I think, and having it be a perfect distillation, if you will, of the book, which is huge and ponderous on its own. But this collection of readings just feels like a perfect way to convey the meaning and import of the book. And I love that we did it together rather than having one editor person do it. That, I think that's just fabulous. And I'd also like to share with all of you that my experience of choosing the passage was that of our grandson choosing the passage. He's 9 months old, and telling Golden to tell me what it was, which is another just beautiful act of co-creation. Makes me feel much more connected and much more part of one life, one beingness, which I write about all the time, but this is a wonderful experience of it. And I wanted to share that as a context for my experience this morning. So thanks.
Yeah.
I was going to originally open today with a little bit of the Mayan calendar for today, and since John brought up the political situation and the state of our country, I think it's really helpful to trust this process of breakdown and the great revealing that we're going through in a sort of universal message. And the Mayan tone or sort of vibration of today is about antagonisms. And I just want to read a little bit of that because I think it's really relevant. From one comes two. Opposing forces work together, counterbalancing each other in a field of stability. Black and white, night and day, good and evil, work and play, the yin and the yang. The beauty of relationship, representing the essential dance of two that defines, we are described and highlighted by what we are not. It is said, if the valley filled up, the mountains would disappear. So this tone of opposites and the necessity of those, and the messages in the Diamonds from Heaven book, for me, they help me trust. They help me trust the contrasts I see, the things that we don't want. They help define us, and they help me trust the moving forward, because the conversation is happening, and that's a beautiful thing, and it is the creative force. So anyway, to me, I feel like I can trust what's going on, even if there are things I don't like. So,
I would like to just read the last few stanzas of a poem by John O'Donohue, my favorite, and I think Rita's there too on that one. It just spoke to me when I read it the other day. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning. That is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits.
I just wanted to say thank you. I thought that was just outstanding. I wish I would have read the book now, but I have it all the way through, but I have it on my Kindle. And it kind of reminds me years and years ago when I was going through a really bad time and had just found metaphysics and Mile High Church, and I was driving in Denver at Colfax and Sheridan. I mean, I remember this so well. And things weren't very good in my life. And I, in fact, on that day, I had a phone call of some problem with my son at school. And here I am driving along, stop at a stoplight, and this whole world, this whole universe, and all these answers. And it was like I didn't even exist. And I kind of had that same feeling with all of this, of how that all came in. It was like once in a while, we're treated to these glimpses of what we need. So thank you.
Thank you for this morning. Listening to the words from Christopher's book, I just got the sense there is nothing new under the sun. It's all here, it's all everywhere. And just to open to that through heart space and in creating community like this a spiritual center has. And this morning, on Sunday morning, there was a beautiful piece about the challenges that the artists in Italy are having, people who are in the fabric making industry, and how their world has been shaken up with the COVID. And the last person who was interviewed, he said, creativity is the most powerful vaccine against COVID. Creativity is the most powerful vaccine against COVID. So thank you for co-creating this beautiful space this morning. I feel it, and I'm so glad I tuned in.
thank you, everybody. Thanks again for being here, for being who you are. And I'm going to have Larry post, along with the recording for this, I'm going to have him post, if you will, Larry, a link to the piece that I played, Ayla Nerio's song, because that you heard it before, and perhaps not in the context of what has unfolded here. And that song just showed up as often does when I create or facilitate these meetings. Spirit always just pulls something out of nowhere, something that was not even on my screen, my awareness. It just shows up and says, this is it. And I was, again, blown away and not surprised when I listened to the lyrics. I've never heard that song before. And when I listened to the lyrics of the song, it was astonishing to me how much she pulled in what we talked about today. I mean, almost every line in that song was contained in the reading today. And of course, not surprised, but continually in awe of how this amazing being that we are all a part of shows up. So thank you. And one last thing, I want to give a shout out to Janae, because a lot of the readings that many of us read came from you, Janae. You created a PDF with a lot of passages, and I actually just, a good half of this was from that, and I simply highlighted different things for each of us to read. And fascinatingly, we had a lot of the same highlights from reading the book. So it actually made it really sweet and easy to just look at what you had already printed and put on paper and to read from, instead of having to page through the book. So anyway, with that, thank you all. And yeah, we'll turn it over to Golden, the golden being.
Was a beautiful morning, absolutely beautiful. And when a client of mine first recommended this book and I started reading it, I just felt it in my soul. It wasn't just speaking to my soul, it was allowing the complete remembering. And in our spiritual work, so often we read about, and the word remembering is there. And that's what I felt Christopher Bache has given us in this incredible document, that he opened that access that would just be the direct infusion of remembering. And I think it's a life-changing experience. And I am so glad this is recorded and going to be available to more people. I recommended this book to a lot of people, and just the name, I think, puts them off. And so I think this, as an experience of it, will really enliven that potential to have their own remembering by reading the book and being with it and sitting with it and browsing it again and again and again. So this is its own document. So thank you. Thank you, John and Kelly, for putting this co-creation together. And thank you all for your parts and pieces in this. And what we know is the whole is not in pieces. It is whole in all of us. And thank you. What we've got coming up is one more January service on Zoom, and that is Rick Davis. And he has his title as Asking a Better Question. How can we support each other in feeling safe? And recently in talking to him, I asked him if he was able, willing, if it was appropriate for him to share some of his last time being with Lynn. So I think that is part of what we will be offered next Sunday as well. So I really treasured that, knowing that he was there for part of her final journey, and we get to have some sense of it, and I get that she is open to that as well. So we'll see what that is. We're doing things on Zoom, so it looks like February will need to be Zoom as well, just because there is a lot of spiking in cases and that sort of thing. But creativity being the true vaccine or the true healer, we will trust that we're in the last cycle here now. I somehow I just feel March is going to be really different for our center, in the sense of opportunity to even be in each other's auric field in that sense of connecting. So we'll see. But we're going to start, Larry and I have talked, we're going to try to do the open discussion for the first Sunday in February on Zoom. So I will be doing that kind of in the format we've done in the past, maybe even in an expanded format like this, in the sense of the depth that's available in that. But anyhow, so we have that coming up to start off February. And in the meantime, with things a little bit lean on lots of different levels in terms of our interaction and activities and renters and donations, I really encourage you to continue donating, even maybe finding abundance deeper in your being to contribute to the center. And we have that through Venmo, as well as through sending a check to our treasurer, Barbara. And Lynn herself, in her final papers, as well as her family, have requested that donations be made in her name. And that is a file that's being created so that we can tally that in a special way and send back thank you cards, and then also send that all that information to the family. So just know, if you do a donation on behalf and honoring of Lynn, just mark it that way, and we'll kind of have that as a separate and wonderful blessing. And I'm just so thankful for today that I just feel very quiet in my body. You know, we could just sit here. Any other announcements or anything?
I'll just give an announcement. Zachary Cashin is doing a vibrational healing circle on Friday, and we have 12 spaces for people to come. And if you're interested, just send an email to info@davinakent.org. And we're looking forward to February Heart Month and supporting all the programs that Dr. Feinsinger is doing to help people to embellish their heart health. Heart Month. Of course, every day is a heart day, but particularly in February, we bring that to people's attention. And we're doing more interviews of practitioners, once a month, a featured practitioner, and those are up on our calendar on the website and Facebook page. So check in.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This has been amazing. And again, the recording will be posted up on Larry's Facebook site, and the link to that will be sent out probably sometime early this week. Okay.
Thank you.
John, just briefly, what I will do is post this to my YouTube channel, not Facebook channel.
Oh, sorry. That's, yep. Thank you.
And we'll talk about how to frame it, you know, what to trim from the beginning and or the end, because I'd like it to be available wider than the spiritual center, unless someone objects to having their visage put out there in that manner. So that's what I've done with all the other stuff I've posted. It's just out there and keyword searchable from anywhere.
Well, is there anybody that spoke today that would object to any of their comments being included in a video that's publicly available?
I'm in.
Okay. So we'll, I'm going to stop recording.